Hi, Bad Gamer here. And I've never really been a Final Fantasy person. Not because I hated it or something, okay? Or because I was too cool for turn-based games or whatever. I mean, I even made a video about turn-based being the future. But honestly, it just never really grabbed me. I didn't grow up with JRPGs. I wasn't waiting for the next Final Fantasy release. I wasn't watching the cutscenes on YouTube. And I didn't have any older sibling telling me, this game will change your life. Attention, attention. Over 90% of you guys are not subscribed to Bad Gamer Enterprise? What is wrong with you? If you like this content, leave me a sub. Thank you so much for watching. To me, Final Fantasy was always this massive, legendary franchise that existed just outside my gaming radar. I respected it. I saw the fanbase, I saw the cosplays, the symphony concerts, but I never felt like it was calling me in. It always looked like a game you needed to already love before you even press start. The only one I actually tried was Final Fantasy VII Remake. And look, I wanted to like it. It had literally everything I usually enjoy, okay? Great visuals, right? Dramatic characters, a quite flashy looking combat system, okay? And a world people clearly cared about. But the second I started playing, I just bounced off it, like hard. The combat felt like it couldn't decide what it wanted to be, like real time or turn-based, both. It was like the game kept pausing to remind me it was deep, when really it just wanted me to wait for cooldowns, I feel like. Everyone else seemed to get it, man. And meanwhile, I was still stuck in wondering if I was missing the magic. And I think a lot of that comes down to one thing. Final Fantasy feels like it's built for people who already care. If you didn't fall in love with it years ago, back when turn-based battles and world maps were the norm, it's hard to just jump in today and be swept away, you know what I'm saying? Not because the games are bad, but because they're carrying a weight of expectation that you, as a newcomer, don't really share. And that's where Expedition 33 comes in. This game, which I picked up purely because the art looked cool, did what Final Fantasy never could do for me. It pulled me in without asking me for my loyalty. No nostalgia required, alright? No pre-existing love. It just stood on its own two feeties, confident, stylish, and most importantly, it was fun from the start. And the more I played, the more I realized something I actually wasn't expecting. Expedition 33 feels like what Final Fantasy fans have been asking for, only it came from somewhere else. I don't know, call it crisis of identity. Let's be fair here, Final Fantasy isn't just a game series. It's a cultural landmark. There's no denying that the impact it's had on gaming, Final Fantasy VII, 10, 16 are considered milestones in the medium. This franchise invented moments people still talk about 20 plus years later, dude. I mean, that's crazy, okay? But legacy is a double-edged sword. Over the last decade or so, it feels like the Final Fantasy series has started to drown in its own history. Since Final Fantasy XIII, the games have been trying to reinvent themselves with every new entry. We've seen Final Fantasy XIII, overly linear, it famously takes about 20 hours to open up. Final Fantasy XV, open world, road trip vibes. And then Final Fantasy VII Remake, obviously, half action, half pause and menu combat. And then Final Fantasy XVI, which was technically Devil May Cry. I really want to respect that each tried something new, but it also creates this weird feeling that even developers don't really know what Final Fantasy really is. Final Fantasy feels more like a brand than a vision. And that's not an insult, right? That's a marketing strategy, and I get it. It tries to be something for everyone, but ends up feeling like it was made for no one in particular. When I played Final Fantasy VII Remake, I felt that the indecision, like everywhere. The combat looked fast, but played slow. The characters felt obviously iconic, but their arcs assumed I already loved them. I mean, fair enough, it was a remake. It was as if the game was saying, look at how cool this is, while I was still waiting to feel anything. Meanwhile, the people who did grow up with the franchise seemed to obviously get it immediately. And that's when it clicked for me. Final Fantasy these days is a nostalgia-driven experience. That doesn't mean that the games are bad, alright? But it does mean that they're often built to reward people who already have history with the series. This makes it hard for someone like me, or someone who wants to be on board to find a place to actually start. Now here's what Expedition 33 gets right, okay? Compare it to that. This game didn't need 30 years of legacy. It didn't need 5 spin-offs or a CG movie or a symphonic orchestra tour. Well, not yet at least. It just showed up and said, here's what we are and here's what we're doing. Do you want to join? And I said yes, because the art style looked wild, okay? And that was literally it. And then I stayed because obviously the game respected my time. It gave me fun mechanics and actually trusted me to enjoy the game without needing a lore crash course, okay? What did it nail? Well, it's turn-based and it's not, okay, in a way. Turn-based but fast, like a mix between Persona and Sekiro. I always like to explain it that way. And it never drags. It's dynamics, it's reactive, it's clear. It's not trying to be a movie. It's not trying to blend genres. It knows what kind of system it's using and leans all the way in. There's a tempo to the battles and a rhythm almost, you know. You make a move and it feels powerful. You chain effects and you see the payoff right away. It feels like a game, not a cinematic experience with occasional controller prompts. Then dude, the visuals. The visuals are sexy, dude. And I mean, they're sexy and functional. A lot of games have great art direction, but few make that art direction feel actually meaningful, if you know what I'm saying. Expedition 33 uses dreamlike, paintery world, not just for screenshots, but for the actual tone. Like everything, the UI, the way spells look, the way enemies shatter, feels considered, right? Even the animations are short enough to stay like kind of snappy, but long enough to feel satisfying. This isn't style over substance, right? It's style as substance. Then I kind of already mentioned it, right? Like no lore gatekeeping, unlike Final Fantasy 15 or something. I didn't have to watch a YouTube essay before starting, right? I didn't have to Google character timelines or any political backstories, right? The game introduces you gently, actually. Like it builds curiosity, it earns its kind of emotional weight without over-explaining stuff. That's a massive win, especially in a genre that's often obsessed with lore for lore's sake. And then lastly, obviously, something that many won't actually mention. Expedition 33 also arrived at the perfect time. Gamers are exhausted. Open worlds are super bloated, live service models everywhere, you know, they're dying. AAA games are filled with microtransactions and 80 gigabyte patches, which don't even contain the game. Players are craving cohesive, stylish, single-player games that aren't trying to sell you something or win an Oscar, right? Expedition 33 literally said, no battle pass, no season roadmap, no franchise baggage. Literally, here's the game, just a game and a good game. And people notice that, right? Even without a legacy fan base, even without giant publisher marketing, it's making waves still now, you know. It hit with RPG fans, but also hit with people like me, people who don't usually like this genre. That is not easy to pull off, dude. To be clear once more, I don't hate Final Fantasy, so don't come at me. I get why people love it, and I think the older titles probably deserve that praise, right? They came out during a time when they were leading innovation and game design. But right now, Final Fantasy feels like a brand that's still chasing its past, and it keeps changing shape, you know, hoping at some point something will stick. And fans, honestly, are just trying to hold on to the past, if you ask me. Meanwhile, Expedition 33 doesn't have nostalgia. It only has execution, and that's what makes it super exciting. This game didn't change my mind about JRPGs. Well, actually it kind of did. I just bought Persona 5. But I wouldn't say it converted me or anything into a Final Fantasy fan, at least not, you know. But what it did was prove that a game can win over people even if they weren't looking for it. But just doing the basics right and doing them beautifully. And if Square Enix is watching this right now, maybe you guys should stop reinventing Final Fantasy and stop chasing the next big thing. But just start making good things again. So that's my take. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Protect your joy, gamers, and button mash responsibly. Bad Gamer out.